Hello, welcome to the Hammer Museum. I'm Claudia Bester, I'm the Director of Public Programs, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to tonight's performance of poetry and music from Iran. There are a few people who have been instrumental in helping with this program. I'd like to thank the Farhang Foundation for co-presenting the program with the Hammer, and a special thank you to its executive director, my dear colleague, Bita Milanian, who's been enormously helpful in putting all the details together. I also want to thank Alex Helmy of Demoka for generously loaning us the most beautiful carpet I have ever seen. Please come and take a look at it after the program. It has the most exquisite details woven into that carpet. It's unbelievable. So we've actually taken some images from it, and some of them will be projected behind the performers today. I especially want to thank Bernard Radfar, who was my inspiration and my collaborator in designing this program. When I found out that Bernard spoke Aramaic, I was very excited at the thought of hearing this ancient language spoken aloud. And Bernard had all these wonderful ideas about having a poetry recitation with music in a traditional Persian style, and he introduced me to the work of the amazing poets and musicians you'll see here tonight. So thank you very much to Bernard and to his grandfather Elias Mazlumi, for whom this evening is dedicated. Briefly, we're going to hear first from Bernard Radfar, reading in Aramaic and in English, and then Majid Naficy, reading in Persian and English, both accompanied by Sahba Motallebi and Mehdi Bagheri. And then we'll have Niloufar Talebi performing with Bobak Salehi. And then finally, Bernard Radfar will close the program. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Bernard Radfar.
لا يولتن كما باسخن كي ادليل ديالخون رابق بنخون كلخون. You don't know what a treat it is to open in Aramaic. It's so rare, you can't imagine. And I want to welcome you all this evening. And thank you especially to Claudia Bester for masterminding this evening, in the most noble, beautiful way. So tonight, Ecstasy and the Persian Spirit. We were wondering how to put together an evening based on people driving down Wilshire in Bentleys and Maseratis, because that's Persian ecstasy these days. So we're going to try and restore things in our own little way, speak about refinement and not showing off, going to the heart of things. That's our idea of ecstasy. So Aramaic, why in the world am I reading poems in Aramaic? What's the Aramaic deal with somebody like you? I come from a tiny community in the borderless region between Turkey, Iran, and Iraq. There was no name for this area, and it was controlled by various empires over the centuries. Now, the identity of our people is really just this language, and I think the language is really our homeland. We pretend we have other homelands, whether it's here or another place, but my feeling is that no country is really our home. As long as we have this language, we'll be in exile. Maybe the deeper thing is that no country should be anyone's home. So I finally decided years ago to address this dilemma of having a language that's dying before my eyes, and that is part of me, and that isn't at all. I'm a complete outsider within that community. So it's fitting to place this conversation of exile in Persian ecstasy, because this culture of Persian poetry and music speaks so deeply to the inner world. I don't think there's that many other cultures that touch places, and I hope we'll be able to capture some of that. So let's go inside. Ezech Lua. شمه شمه hivalu ba'aru veli mayed marek geshindash lacha zulich ittam tikid hitch tikah yalishana. Names. They have names for their land, but what we say can't even be dreamt. We have the place of no place, this language. Mamazal, ilane pelugmatra, shetianval, gachishka, barbolaveli bamendikhane. Gmatra yamatra zalla, lagab, lugab, samichaval bahechmendich. Ujur abela, abela, ujur ila. Samichech. Nothing rhymes here, just for those of you who are worried about that. What luck. What luck, trees came down in the rain. I was quiet in the dark, searching for what kinds of things. In the rain, this rain went this way and that. She was waiting for nothing. She wanted it that way. Wanting is like that. We stand still, waiting. Bamaila. Dushlu, paruge gal pasoche, chilye, fikre, olam pasocha galuch, uchet vercha, lashabya, bamaila. Agar, bekalvila, gol hud, gerag fakri, ki galam, laila, jue. For what? Wear it, this ending with joy, sweet thoughts, and the world celebrates with you. Any other way is worthless. What of it? If they must write, swear to me that they'll understand this voice of ours didn't know otherwise.
Good evening. Asr Bekhair. My name is Majid Naficy. What a beautiful language, Aramaic. I know one Iranian Assyrian painter who died a couple of years ago, Hannibal al-Khas. Before I read my poem, Barbad the Lute Player, first in Persian and then in English, I would like to say a few words about Barbad. He was a musician who lived during the time of King Khosrow Parviz, late 6th century, early 7th century AD. According to Ferdowsi, who composed Shahnameh, the Book of Kings, 3 centuries after Barbad, the chief musician of Khosrow Parviz, whose name was Sarkesh, he was not happy with Barbad and told the doorkeeper of the palace that you should not let him go to see the king. But one day before the Persian New Year, which happens at the beginning of spring, Barbad, who knew that the king will have a ceremony inside the garden, went to the gardener and talked to him and let him, and the gardener let him go inside the garden and hide himself among trees, and actually climbed up a pine tree. And then when the king came, to the Ivan, to the balcony, he started playing lute. And by doing that, he mesmerized the king, and the king replaced Sarkesh, the chief musician, with Barbad. And Barbad was so close to the king that when the king, toward the end of his reign, was captured by his son and also the Armenian king, not the Armenian king, the Roman king Heraclitus, and they put him in prison, and then shortly he was executed. Barbad broke 4 of his fingers and said, I will never play music anymore, and also burned all of his musical instruments. Well, my narration of Barbad is very different from Ferdowsi, and I have a different message to Barbad toward the end of my poem. But before reading my poem, I would like to read a few lines from the introduction of that section of the Book of Kings, which Ferdowsi talks about Barbad. همی هر زمان شاه برتر گذشت، چو سال شاهیش بر 28. کسی را نشد بر درش کار بد، ز درگاه آگاه شد بار بد. بدو گفت هر کس که شاه جهان، گزیده است رامشگری در میان. اگر بر تو او را برابر کند، تو را بر سر سرکش افسر کند. چو بشنید مرد آن، بجوشیدش آز، وگرچه نبودش به چیزی نیاز. ز کشور بشد تا به درگاه شاه، همی کرد رامشگران را نگاه. چو بشنید سرکش دلش تیره شد، به زخم سرود اندرو خیره شد. بیامد به درگاه سالار بار، درم کرد و دینار چندی نثار. بدو گفت رامشگری بر در است، که از من به سال و هنر برتر است. نباید که در پیش خسرو شود، که ما کهنه گشتیم و او نو شود. ز سرکش چو بشنید دربان شاه، ز رامشگر ساده بربست راه. Before I read my poem in Persian, I want to tell you two things. One, in Persian, we call lute barbat, which is most likely taken from the name of Barbat. The second thing, it is said that barbat or lute has been made in the shape of horse. So take that in mind. Now I wait for the music. باربد. بهاران با باربد بازا، با بربطی در بر و شال سبزی بر دوش. از جوی بار باغ شاه شبانه به درون رو. شتابان از پشت شمشادها بگذر، به سیب چرخان روی فواره از گوشه چشم نگاه کن و در میانه بیدها و سروها پنهان شو. در آنجا کاج کهنسالی را میابی که تو را به آسمان پیوند میدهد. بربط را بر شانه بیاویز و از شاخه های سترگ کاج پله به پله بالا رو و در لابلای گیسوان سبزش چون مرغی خوشخوان آشیان کن. خسرو به ایوان خواهد آمد و بر تخت نوروز خواهد نشست. پیاله دار جامها را پر می کند و مردوی پیشکار شمعدانها را می افروزد و خونیاگران خرامان به صحنه می آیند. اما پیش از این که میر مطربان سرکش فسونکار به زخمه چند چنگ را کوک کند و دف زنها و کمانچه کشها به جای خود بنشینند و خوانندگان به تک سرفه‌ای گلو صاف کنند، بربط را از زانوان برگیر و شور داد آفرید را بنواز. گزمه ها با گاو سرهاشان و سرکش ها با گاو دمهاشان خاموش می نشینند و بربط به جای تو سخن می گوید و سرپنجه های سحرآمیز تو که رشک سرکش را برمی انگیزد آهنگ سبز در سبزت را در خلوت باغ خواهند نواخت. آنگاه هنگامی که خسرو هنوز در افسون است، از آشیان سبزت به زیر آی و همچنان که به چهره خود در آب می نگری، از حاشیه شمشادها بی شتاب بگذر و این بار از دروازه نیمه باز باغ بلند و سرفراز بیرون آی و چونان گذشته خونیاگری خانه به دوش باقی مان. بربط اسبی است که در چراگاه‌های بزرگ می‌بالد و در خانه‌های کوچک می‌افسرد. Barbad, the lute player. In the spring, come back with Barbad, carrying a lute and wearing a green cape. Sneak into the royal garden and straddle the brook. Pass with haste from behind the hedges. Look from the corners of your eyes at the suspended apple floating on the fountain of the garden pool, and hide in the middle of willows and pine trees. There you will find an ancient pine connecting you to the sky. Hang the lute from your shoulder and step by step climb over arching limbs and nest like a singing bird behind the green canopy. The king will come to the balcony and sit at the New Year's throne. The cupbearers fill the cups with wine, and Mardui the butler lights the candlesticks, and minstrels walk to the floor gracefully. But before the trickster Sarkesh, the chief of musicians, tunes his harp lightly with a few strums, and percussionists and fiddlers sit in their places, and the singers clear their throat with shallow coughs. Take the lute from your lap and play the Born with Justice sonata. The court guards with their clubs and the Sarkishites with their horns will sit in silence, and the lute will talk instead of you. And your enchanting fingers, which make Sarkish envious, will play the green, all green sonata in the sanctuary of the royal garden. Then, while the king is still enchanted, climb down from your green nest. Look at your reflection in the water. Walk without haste from behind the hedges, and this time, tall and with head high, pass through the half-open gate. And as before, stay a wandering minstrel. Lute is a horse. It grows in grand ranches, but dies out in small homes. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Niloufar Talebi, and this is my friend and collaborator, Bobak Salehi. I want to thank Claudia Bestor and her team and the Hammer Museum for inviting us to join this lovely, lovely evening. I can't really see the audience, but I feel like there's a full house out there, isn't there? This is wonderful. And I also want to thank the Farhang. These are some amazing tech people. Thank you very much, Christo. I also want to thank the Farhang Foundation for always supporting amazing, wonderful cultural events around the Southern California area and making it possible for us to be here. I wanted to just say a few words about the wonderful chronology of this evening. Bernard, thank you, Bernard, for also inviting me to this program. Bernard started with the ancient language that's spoken in the region that we're in right now, ancient Persia and now modern-day Iran. And then Mr. Naficy recited the poetry of a 10th century poet. And now we will bring you forward to the 20th century and then after that to the 21st century with the three poets that we're introducing to you today. The first poet that I will talk about is Ahmad Shamlou. And Ahmad Shamlou was born in 1925 and he passed away in the year 2000 at the age of 74. He is beyond an icon and a national treasure. If there are some Americans in this audience who might not know him as on par with his peers such as Neruda, it is only because he hasn't been sufficiently and widely translated, and we're hoping to change that. Ahmad Shamlou was a poet, a critic, a translator, an encyclopedist, a playwright, on and on and on. And this poem that I'm going to recite for you, he wrote in 1955. He was a great humanitarian and a defender of human rights, and he very, very often wrote poetry specifically dedicated to specific people that fought for human rights and for freedom in Iran and all over the world. This one is called Ishq Umumi. I'm not quite sure exactly how I would like to really decide on translating the title of the poem, but it's something like, in your program it says collective love, but I'm not settled on that as a translator yet. Other options for me would be general love, or common love, or public love, or popular love, or universal love, or love for all, or love one, love all. Yes, I know, all the choices that we have as translators, it keeps you up at night. But this is a poem that's to one specific lover, but also at the same time to the whole of humanity. Ahmad Shamlou, Ishq Umumi. Tears are a mystery, smiles a mystery, love a mystery. The tears of that night were the smile of my love. I am not a tale to be told, not a song to be sung, not a sound to be heard, or something that you might see or something that you might know. I am common pain, cry me out. The tree communes with the woods, the weed with the meadows, the star with the galaxy, and I speak with you. Tell me your name, give me your hand, speak me your words, give me your heart. I have discovered your depths, and I have spoken for all lips with your lips, and your hands are familiar with mine. I have wept in blazing solitude with you for the sake of the living, and I have sung the most beautiful of songs in the darkest of graveyards, because the dead of this year were the most loving of the living. Give me your hand. Your hands know me. Oh, you lastly found, I speak with you, as does the cloud with the storm, the weed with the fields, the rain with the sea, the bird with spring, the tree with the forest. For I have discovered your depths, for my voice is intimate with yours. عشق عمومی اشک رازیست، لبخند رازیست، عشق رازیست. اشک آن شب لبخند عشقم بود. قصه نیستم که بگویی، نغمه نیستم که بخوانی، صدا نیستم که بشنوی، یا چیزی چنان که ببینی یا چیزی چنان که بدانی. من درد مشترکم، مرا فریاد کن. درخت با جنگل سخن میگوید، علف با صحرا، ستاره با کهکشان، و من با تو سخن میگویم. نامت را به من بگو، دستت را به من بده، حرفت را به من بگو، قلبت را به من بده. من ریشه های تو را دریافتم، با لبانت برای همه لبها سخن گفتم، و دستهایت با دستان من آشناست. در خلوت روشن با تو گریستم برای خاطر زندگان، و در گورستان تاریک با تو گریستم. در گورستان تاریک با تو خوانده‌ام زیباترین سرودها را، زیرا که مردگان این سال عاشق ترین زندگان بودند. دستت را به من بده، دستهای تو با من آشناست. ای دیر یافته با تو سخن میگویم، به سان ابر که با طوفان، به سان علف که با صحرا، به سان باران که با دریا، به سان پرنده که با بهار، به سان درخت که با جنگل سخن میگوید. زیرا که من ریشه های تو را دریافتم، زیرا که صدای من با صدای تو آشناست. So the next poet is Amir Hossein Afrasiabi, and Amir Hossein Afrasiabi was born in 1934. This poet and the final poet, the third poet that I will recite for you today, are poets that I have translated many of their poems of and included in my first book, which is an anthology of contemporary Iranian poetry. Amir Hossein Afrasiabi, I included 3 different generations, and Amir Hossein Afrasiabi obviously belongs, because he was born in 1934, to the elder, the most senior generation that left Iran after the revolution. He came to poetry early in life, and then he left it to study engineering, and he was a city planner in the Netherlands until recently. And I'm Facebook friends with Amir Hossein Afrasiabi, by the way. Found him on Facebook. He's the hippest 80-year-old man I know. And he still recites, he still makes so much poetry and so much art. And this poem is another kind of repartee. I wanted to stay with the theme of the evening, which is ecstasy, and so I really chose the theme of love to put my 3 poems together for you. So this is a repartee between a husband and wife, and in fact, Bobak and I this is one of the 14 poems from the anthology that Bobak and I created a complete theatrical show of called Icarus Rise, or Ikarus Barkhast, which told the story of the Iranian migration through these 14 poems. We included this poem, Red Rose 1, Red Rose 2, Gul Surkhe 1, Gul Surkhe 2. I'm talking about that same red rose in the little backyard of that house, whose perfume wafted in the afternoon shadows of summer's end when you watered the footpath and brewed tea. Afternoons of summer's end when I sat on the veranda and spotted it red and fragrant from over your shoulder. I used to think, it's there, it's still there. I'm talking about that rose in the little backyard of that house. همان گل سرخی را میگویم که در حیات کوچک آن خانه بود و عطرش در سایه های عصر روزهای آخر تابستان که آب میپاشیدی خرند را و چای را دم میکردی در حیات و ایوان پیچیده بود. عصرهای آخر تابستان که می نشستم بر ایوان و از فراز شانه های تو می دیدم که بود سرخ و عطرآگین، می گفتم که هست، فعلا که هست. آن گل سرخی را می گویم که در فراز شانه تو در حیات آن خانه بود. You're talking about that same red rose in the little backyard of that house. I know. Sometimes when I watered the footpath and brewed tea and you sat on the veranda, you spotted it over my shoulders. Sometimes you spotted it there. You always spot roses, red and fragrant from over my shoulder, but you never see me. همان گل سرخی را میگویی که در حیات کوچک آن خانه بود. میدانم گاهی که آب می پاشیدم خرند را و چای را دم می کردم و می نشستی بر ایوان، می دیدی که بود از فراز شانه های من، می دیدی که بود گلهای سرخ را از فراز شانه های من همیشه می بینی که سرخ و عطرآگینند، اما مرا نمی بینی. This final poet is a poet who was born in 1974, so we're just moving forward. Her name is Bobak Salehi. She, I think, is someone in her generation that has really, really worked deeply with the language, both Persian and Azeri. She's from Azerbaijan, and she recites amazing poetry in Azeri as well. She's inventive with language, a wonderful, wonderful challenge to translate, and very interesting to work with as well. This one is called Ishq Limuist, Love is Lemony. And when I first introduced this poem in 2004 or 2005, it was published in a wonderful translation magazine called Two Lines. And in the essay that I wrote to introduce the work, I called this sort of a, what did I call it? Divine lust and carnal love. This is sort of the scene of her wedding day with her impassioned beloved, and they're no longer together, but this was their wedding day. I won't tell you the name of the wonderfully famous poet of that same generation, but it's in the, it's everywhere, you can find it. Love is lemony. now that you draw the pink veil off my face. Love is this very lemon that goes lemon, lemon to the orange. Lashes and neck long, lashes and neck back, lashes back, neck askew, my head cockeyed out the nook, over the shoulder behind sight, shoulders like square houses, childhood doodle houses. We stand facing each other, two mad souls, neck to neck, shoulder to shoulder, lashes and neck. And then a bit bent, bend a bit to roll over. Let me blaze on your shoulder and eyes, your eyes that kiss, kiss, wet my lips. Your eye that kisses, wets my lips. Your eye that plunges into the furrow, and once again we see nothing and coil like vine and whirl in noise and rapture. Come, come, if you draw the soft pink aside, love is this very lemon that somewhat sour leaps, lemon, lemon, to the orange. حالا که تور صورتی رو از صورتم پس بزنی، عشق همین لیموییست که لیمو لیمو راه می رود تا نارنج. پلک ها و گردنی بلند، پلک ها و گردنی خم، کمی به پشت، کمی به پهلو، پشت چشم و روی شانه، شانه ها شکل نقاشی های کودکی، خانه های چارگوش. سرم خمیده از این گوشه خانه بیرون. روبروی هم ایستاده ایم دو دیوانه، گردن به گردن، شانه به شانه، پلک ها و گردنی. و بعد کمی خم که به چرخم به پشت و تب کنم روی شانه و چشمت که بوس نم کند بر لبم، چشمت که بوس نم کند بر لبم، و چشمت که در حفره فرو رود و دیگر بار نبینیم هیچ، و مثل پیچ بچرخیم و بپیچیم در صدا و سودا. بیا بیا صورتی رو نرم اگر پس بزنی پیش، عشق همین لیموییست که لیمو لیمو کمی ترش میپرد تا نارنج.
Hope you're ready. Gal tagurach chae hava lachadriva. Majid Naficy yene kume anjire ki khalalach. Gal tagurach qale kulu khliyesh khadiri magun ened kalbe. Majid Naficy ranged demalatta. Gal tagurach ki idam yilli ki pishli gnushi. Litti lach inan itti lach magun ed ki mitra pucha itta. With your touch, lives wouldn't have turned to air. What's lost became the black figs that you washed. With your touch, all voices sweetened like the eye of a dog. What's lost has no tint of blood. With your touch on our hands, I know I was still in myself. I have you and don't have you, like the rain has the wind. Yadre, Udre, Pelichtali me yumid yalam, Blayen budma, Lishane dar, de Khadira IDD. Yadre, Udre, Hivyava, Mayed have, Mar have, Yadre, Havenna. Yadre, Udre, this different, that different. She opened me from these worldly days. I'll never know how the language of suffering became mine. This different, that different. Had this been, whatever it could have been, let it be this way that I have her. Takula. La yelem qaldigde levech varam. Barash Matavir va khadra yumam. Ana galile rishkhasi. Alone. We didn't know that we weren't together. We went into it, and later, what was broken became days. And me with night riding me. In the Aramaic, it shifts back and forth between feminine, where I'm speaking as a woman, I'm speaking as a man, where I'm speaking to women, I'm speaking to men. لا بابلو شغيفة لا بابلو شغيفة إذن وبهشت ركب لي بارخصو حتى الشنديد يلي أتا ماودين. No entrance. They wouldn't allow me to go to paradise. I rode behind them until sleep came to me. Now, what am I to do? Hala, tak zilli, tak vidli, kepesh chazelu. Ki ayeni va malitu ma ittu. Mayume, Uine Yume Medelu, Mayane, Haif, Haif. Even now, alone I went, alone I did, the stones they saw, that they might know what they haven't, what they have, what days those days brought us, what things, what a shame, Haif, Haif. Mayed Tishyen, Rachatla Gapucha, Chaim Ashtichli, Aididi Lahavu, Murun Aid Khunila, Murun Fikiretuna, Rabba Kamri G'day Olam, Anash Pishen, Gal Dimmede Armane, Rish Lelid Mamuli Lele, Levin, Loka, Geshinded Chal. What I've hidden. I ran into the wind and found lives that weren't mine. Say that it's yours. Say you understood. They say plenty in this world, and I stay with pomegranate blood on this night of plain night. I'm gone in the sleep of life.